Hello friends, this is Deepak Gupta signing in on this platform of CollegeDekho.com, and today we are picking up a topic holder for value and holder in due course from the Negotiable Instruments Act 1881, and this is one of the crucial topics and very important topics to understand as well as for the exam purposes. I use the word to understand because if you are in legal practice, then this holder and due course is very important to ascertain the rights of a person as per section 138. So in any civil case, if you have to assure that the party or the payee, or I should say the holder, has to receive the payment, so if we are able to prove in the court of law that he is a holder in due course, then he has better rights, and in the more or less cases, he gets his due received. So what actually the holder in due course is? Normally when we use the word due course, it denotes that the person has become the holder by fulfilling all the preconditions. The way it should have been, that what denotes the due course. So normally there are three words: holder, holder of a value, and holder in due course, which are upgradation of the same holder. That is, there are like tick marks, characteristics. So if a person follows three primary characteristics, then he becomes a holder in due course. Out of the three, if only one characteristic is proven, then he can be used called as holder for value, and otherwise all other are holders. So they are like upgradations. If you are having a right to receive the payment on your behalf in your name, then you are simply a holder. So first we understand the meaning of the word holder, and then we will upgrade. So when we use the word holder, holder of a negotiable instruments means any person who is entitled by his own name either to the possession or to recover. Means if the instrument is due for payment, then he can collect it on his own behalf because he has a right to receive the money. It means he is not a fraudster. He has not taken the instrument in any wrongful means, so he can always ask for the payment by his own rights, by his own name. And if the payment is not due yet, then he is the holder or the possessor of the instrument, which he can keep it till the maturity comes, or he can transfer it to the another party who will get the dues from the payer. So these are the possessors or the recoverers or the payees who will receive the amount due wherever the payment is due from the party who is liable. So in simple words, इसको payment मिल रही है, that is known as payee, and the person, if the payment is not due but he has the instrument received from another party, then we use the word transferee or the word endorsee. So basically a holder denotes any person who receives the payment or who gets the endorsement in his behalf, that is the endorsee, that what denotes the holder. Therefore, if a person has found a lost instrument, or if a person who has wrongfully taken possession of an instrument, for example by theft, then he is not a holder. The holder is not who is holding the instrument in his own name. Holder is someone who has a right to receive the payment in a lawful manner. Therefore, such finder of the lost instruments or the person in wrongful possession is not a holder, is definitely not a holder. So I'm again repeating, holder is not something who holds the instrument. Holder is actually that person who is entitled to receive the payment or actually receives the payment by the right, because he is the person who is deemed to be or who should have been receiving the payment. That is why he is the lawful owner of the instrument, lawful holder of the instrument. But to become a holder, one of the crucial aspects that is to be there, as discussed in the characteristics of negotiable instruments, that the instrument must have been taken always for a consideration, which may not hold true in all the cases, but it was a precondition that for a negotiable instrument, the consideration is always presumed. So we are not writing in the act that consideration is compulsory, like in the contract act. Here, the consideration is presumed, which denotes if a person becomes the holder, then he may have received the instrument for the value of the goods provided, that is, he has received the instrument for a valid consideration given. But sometimes a person can receive the instrument or may become the holder of the instrument without consideration. For example, he has got it gifted. So in the case of a gift, in the case of inheritance, he is deemed to become a holder, but the consideration has not been given. So just to classify, differentiate between the person who becomes the holder for consideration, we have a specialized word, that is holder for value. The holder for value is that holder who becomes the holder for a consideration which has been given either one way or the other. तो कहीं ना कहीं अगर एक चार लोगों की सीरीज है जहां पर ए से बी, बी से सी, सी से डी, तीन चार बार इंस्ट्रूमेंट ट्रांसफर हो चुका है, एंडोर्स हो चुका है, तो वन टाइम देयर हैज ऑलवेज बीन द कंसिडरेशन बीन गिवन. तो अगर ए ने बी को गुड्स के बदले में नया कुछ इंस्ट्रूमेंट दिया, अब आगे की पार्टी अगर होल्डर बन रही है तो कंसिडरेशन एक बार पे हो चुकी है. दैट इज वाई B and after that everyone is a holder of a value, because at least for once the consideration has been given. It means in the whole cycle of endorsements, at least for one time, some person has given the consideration to become the endorsee or the payee of such negotiable instrument. ठीक, that person becomes the holder. That person becomes the holder for value. That person becomes the holder for value. Is that okay? Just a moment. Yeah. Now, when we come to our the prime topic, that is the holder in due course. So, way here I have underlined the three characteristics. If we fulfill these characteristics, then a person should be deemed as holder in due course. तो अगर हम किसी पर्सन को होल्डर बोल रहे हैं और ये प्रूव कर दें कि उसने तीन कैरेक्टरिस्टिक्स पूरी कर दी हैं, तो हम उससे बजाय कि होल्डर बोलने की, वी विल यूज द वर्ड होल्डर इन ड्यू कोर्स. एंड इफ ही इज प्रूवन टू बी द होल्डर इन ड्यू कोर्स, देन इट एनहांसेस the rights. So basically a holder in due course enjoys certain privileges which we will discuss as the heading privileges of a holder in due course. So normally the question in the paper is what is a holder in due course and what are its privileges, or there can be another question that how a holder is different from holder in due course or vice versa. So when we differentiate between a holder and holder in due course, then there are three characteristics. If all the three are there, then the person is known as holder in due course. Otherwise, he can either be a holder or holder for value. So when we come to this holder in due course के तीन characteristics, the first is that he has taken the instrument bona fide. That is without any wrongful impression, that is in the way it has to become the holder, and the instrument has been given to him, that is he has become the holder before it is overdue. It means if the instrument has matured, then the existing holder should get the instrument encashed and he should not be transferring it further. So if you are a holder who has become the endorsee before the amount becomes due, then you fulfill another characteristic of becoming a holder in due course. सिंपल भाषा में, अगर ड्यू डेट 24 फरवरी की थी और आज 2 मार्च है, तो आपका अगर पुराना होल्डर आपको इंस्ट्रूमेंट ट्रांसफर करेगा, तो देन यू शुड हैव आस्क्ड कि सर आपकी तो मेच्योरिटी 24 फेब की थी, आपने अभी तक इसे एनकैश क्यों नहीं कराया, आप मुझे क्यों दे रहे. हम ये नहीं कह रहे कि इससे लायबिलिटी उसकी पेइंग पार्टी की खत्म हो गई, आपका हक खत्म हो गया, बट बिकॉज यू विल बिकम द होल्डर आफ्टर द ड्यू डेट, so you will be just a holder, you won't be a holder in due course. And I'm again repeating, we are not saying that holder has no right of receiving the payment. He also have the similar rights like a holder in due course, but holder in due course have certain privileges. So if you receive or you become endorsee of an instrument after its due date, then you are not holder in due course and you will be not allowed the following privileges. ठीक है? And the third characteristic is that you didn't know that there was a default. मैं इस बात को ऐसे बोलता हूँ कि अगर A ट्रांसफरर है और B ट्रांसफरी है, तो बी के पास इंस्ट्रूमेंट रिसीव हो रहा है, बी बिकमिंग द होल्डर, बी इज बिकमिंग द एंडोर्सी. And if B knew that there is some default with the ownership of A, then obviously B will not accept such instruments. And if you intentionally ignores this doubt about the ownership of the A regarding such instrument, and you still receive it knowing that you have paid the consideration and hence you will be entitled to receive the payment, then Act says that if you knew about the defects in the title of the transferor, then you shouldn't have accepted it, and therefore there is some fault on your part also, and hence you may not be termed as holder in due course. So basically, a holder in due course always take the instruments bona fide for a consideration. He always becomes the holder or the endorsee before it is due. And thirdly, he didn't know that there is any defect or he has no doubt about the title of the transferor. We use the word good faith. So if we compare the holder in due course with the characteristics of a negotiable instrument, अगर आप दोनों को कंपेयर करेंगे तो नेगोशिएबल इंस्ट्रूमेंट्स के ये तीन कैरेक्टरिस्टिक्स थे, गुड टाइटल, कंसिडरेशन और ट्रांसफरेबिलिटी. उन तीनों कैरेक्टरिस्टिक्स को ही होल्डर इन ड्यू कोर्स में एंडोर्स कर दिया गया है, प्रूव कर दिया गया है दैट you should become a holder for a valid consideration bona fide. You should have good title. That is, you should not have any doubt about the ownership of the transferor, and you must always receive the instrument before it is overdue. Because after the payment is there, after the maturity of the instrument is there, this such instrument is meant to be encashed and not to be transferred or endorsed any further. And hence, in those cases, you won't be any holder in due course. You should not be entitled to any benefits or privileges of being a holder in due course. So, just to summarize, lastly, consideration bona fide, you become the endorsee before it is overdue, and in good faith, that is good title. If all these three characteristics are fulfilled, then a holder is known as holder in due course. If only the consideration is proved and not the other things, then he may be called as holder for value. And if any other characteristic is not fulfilled, then he may be just a holder. He may be just a holder. So holders and holder for value can be denied the right of payment in a special cases, or vice versa. There are the privileges of a holder in due course. So before I move on to the privileges, what I have told, I will summarize it by putting up the concept of holder in due course and holder and their distinction. And if you see, holder may become a possessor or the payee even without consideration, but holder in due course is always requiring the possession in consideration. So one difference was the consideration. Second, as I told earlier, a holder in due course, as against a holder, must become the possessor before the instrument thereon becomes payable. So, holder in due course has become the holder before the maturity, which may not be the case with the holder. That is what we said, the second characteristic or the second difference. And in the third case, a holder in due course, as against a holder, must have become the payee in good faith. What I use the word good faith, that is the good title. That is, without having any sufficient cause to believe that there was a defect in the title of the transferor. That is the third difference. So if you see clearly, जिन तीन बातों पे स्ट्रेस करके होल्डर इन ड्यू कोर्स बनाया गया है, और वो तीनों में से अगर कुछ भी लैक होता है तो ही बिकम्स अ होल्डर. तो जो कैरेक्टरिस्टिक्स हैं होल्डर इन ड्यू कोर्स की, वही प्राइमरी डिफरेंस है होल्डर और होल्डर इन ड्यू कोर्स के बीच में. ठीक है. सो आई होप यू आर क्लियर विद दिस, एंड दैट इज व्हाट आई एम अगेन गोइंग टू अंडरलाइन, दैट अगर आप डेफिनेशन नोटिस करोगे तो ये जो मैंने कॉन्सेप्ट डिस्कस किया है, अब इसको हम लॉ की डेफिनेशन से सेक्शन 8 और 9 से कवर कर सकते हैं. As per the section 8 and 9 of the Negotiable Instruments Act 1881, a holder in due course for an instrument payable to bearer. So we have this definition of holder in due course in two ways. First, for the bearer, and then for the order. These are the two definitions as it is from the Negotiable Instruments Act. What it says, a holder in due course for an instrument payable to bearer means any person who became the possessor of the instrument for a valid consideration before the amount mentioned becomes payable. तो अगर अगर बियर इंस्ट्रूमेंट है, आई बिलीव कि आप लोगों को पुराने हमारे क्लासेस के लेक्चर्स आपने रिवाइज करे हैं, फ्रेश हैं आपके माइंड में. तो वी हैव डिस्कस्ड अर्लियर दैट देयर आर टू काइंड ऑफ नेगोशिएबल इंस्ट्रूमेंट्स. वन आर द बियर इंस्ट्रूमेंट्स, अदर आर द ऑर्डर इंस्ट्रूमेंट्स. So order instruments always have the name of the party who will go receive the payment, that is the name of the drawee or the name of the payee. And in the case of bearer, there is no such name. We have either this endorsement as blank, that is the name of the person who will receive the payment, that is the pay is blank, or it is specifically written to be the word bearer. तो जहाँ जैसे एक चेक पे आप लिखते हैं पे, अब पे के आगे आपने लिख दिया दीपक गुप्ता, मेरा नाम लिख दिया, पे दीपक गुप्ता. तो आपने क्लियरली मेंशन किया है दैट द पेमेंट इज मेंट फॉर दीपक गुप्ता बिकॉज द नेम इज मेंशन्ड ऑफ द पे, इट बिकम्स अ ऑर्डर इंस्ट्रूमेंट. अनदर ऑप्शन है, अगर आपने चेक में लिखा पे के आगे ब्लैंक छोड़ दिया, तो ब्लैंक एंडोर्समेंट है, किसी का नाम नहीं लिखा है, तो ये क्या बन जाता है, बियरर इंस्ट्रूमेंट. या आपने लिख दिया पे बियरर, तो आपने एक्सप्रेसली लिख दिया वर्ड बियरर, किसी का नाम लिखने की जरूरत नहीं है. इट मीन्स इट इज अ बियरर इंस्ट्रूमेंट. जिसके पास वो कागज है वो उसका होल्डर बन जाए. तो बियरर के केस में ड्यू डेट ऑफ पेमेंट इंपॉर्टेंट है, और ऑर्डर के केस में जो डेट जिस पे पेबल होगा, है ना. तो आप दोनों केसेस में वहां पेमेंट पे स्ट्रेस है और यहाँ पे ही बनने पे स्ट्रेस है, और कोई फर्क नहीं है. बट दोनों चीजों का एक ही सेंस है कि जो भी ड्यू डेट ऑफ पेमेंट है, अगर आप उससे पहले पेमेंट रिसीव करोगे या उससे पहले उसके एंडोर्सी बन जाओगे, ओनली देन यू आर अ होल्डर इन ड्यू कोर्स, अदरवाइज यू आर नॉट अ होल्डर इन ड्यू कोर्स. सो आई बिलीव दैट दीज आर क्लियर. अगर किसी ने अभी अभी फ्लैग रेज किया था तो मैं दोबारा बोल रहा हूँ प्लीज कि होल्डर और होल्डर इन ड्यू कोर्स के बीच में सिर्फ ये तीन कैरेक्टरिस्टिक्स है. आप सिंपल सी बात है, एक ही बंदे को मैं पहले होल्डर बोल रहा हूँ, और जैसे ही उसके मैंने ये तीन टिक करे कि कंसिडरेशन है, यस, ड्यू डेट से पहले एंडोर्समेंट है, यस, और आपको कोई डाउट नहीं था ओनरशिप के ऊपर, यस, जैसे ये तीन यस हुए, बजाय कि आपको बोलने के होल्डर, मैं क्या बोलना शुरू कर दूंगा, होल्डर इन ड्यू कोर्स. दैट्स इट. अब आपका क्लियर है? ओके. सो नाउ what are the benefits of becoming a holder in due course? So if I receive a payment, I become a holder. I know that if I become a holder in due course, then I will have certain privileges. तो अगर किसी इंस्ट्रूमेंट की मैच्योरिटी फरवरी में हो चुकी है, तो मैं अब उसे मार्च में एंडोर्सी बनने के लिए इंटरेस्टेड नहीं हूं, बिकॉज आई नो कि मैं अब होल्डर इन ड्यू कोर्स नहीं बन पाऊंगा. लेकिन अगर किसी की मैच्योरिटी डेट 15 मार्च की है, मुझे आज मिल रहा है, देन आई एम हैप्पी टू टेक द इंस्ट्रूमेंट बिकॉज आई नो दैट आई विल बिकम अ होल्डर इन ड्यू कोर्स एंड एंजॉय दीज प्रिविलेजेस. ठीक. तो प्रिविलेजेस में पहला क्या है कि अगर कोई इनकोएट इंस्ट्रूमेंट है बट स्टैम्प्ड है, इनकोएट सिंपल भाषा में है इनकम्प्लीट. तो कुछ ऐसे इंस्ट्रूमेंट्स होते हैं जो आपने क्रिएट तो कर दिए, अब आगे जाने से पहले जब तक कि जिसने पेमेंट देनी है, पेयर, ठीक है, जो नॉर्मल बिल ऑफ एक्सचेंज में ड्रॉई है और प्रोमिसरी नोट के अंदर मेकर है, तो जिसकी लायबिलिटी है, जब तक वो इंस्ट्रूमेंट को साइन नहीं करेगा और अमाउंट के हिसाब से रिक्विजिट गवर्नमेंट को स्टैम्प ड्यूटी पे नहीं करेगा, until unless these two conditions are fulfilled, it won't create a valid instrument. तो सिग्नेचर ऑफ द पेयर, मैं दोबारा बोल रहा हूं, सिग्नेचर ऑफ द पेयर विच इन द केस ऑफ प्रोमिसरी नोट इज नोन एज मेकर एंड इन द केस ऑफ बिल ऑफ एक्सचेंज इज नोन एज ड्रॉई. If he signs and pays the stamp duty, then it creates a valid negotiable instrument, even if there are some blanks left. Means पार्टी का नाम नहीं लिखा या डेट नहीं डाली, तो वो एक इनकोएट इंस्ट्रूमेंट है. बट इनकोएट इंस्ट्रूमेंट के ऊपर लायबिलिटी तभी क्रिएट होगी जब आप उसका इनकम्प्लीट कैरेक्टर हटा देंगे, यानी कि उस इंस्ट्रूमेंट को फुल्ली फिल कर देंगे. तो पॉइंट ये है कि अगर आप एक होल्डर हो किसी इनक्विट इंस्ट्रूमेंट के और आपने उसको अपने हिसाब से जो टर्म्स एंड कंडीशन के हिसाब से फिल कर लिया, और फिल करने के बाद जो आपका पेयर है ही इज सेइंग दैट यू हैव नॉट फिल्ड इट एज पर द एग्रीमेंट ऑफ आर्ट्स, और आपने इसे ओवरफिल कर लिया है, then if you are able to prove that you are a holder in due course, then you enjoy the privilege, and the person who is liable to pay will not be able to take action or will not be able to deny the payment. But if you are not a holder in due course, then it's subjected to the legal interpretation, and then the court will decide in the case of dispute whether you are eligible to such payments or not. तो क्या लिखा हुआ है कि is debarred from asserting. तो जो पर्सन है, जो पेयर है, अगर उसने होल्डर इन ड्यू कोर्स को दिया है तो वो मना है उसको, ही कैन नॉट डिनाई द लायबिलिटी ऑन द ग्राउंड्स दैट द इनकोड इंस्ट्रूमेंट हैज नॉट बीन फुलफिल्ड एज पर द रिक्विजिट कमांड्स ऑफ हिज. तो इट इज अ प्रिविलेज टू द होल्डर इन ड्यू कोर्स. सेकंड इज कि अगर आपने किसी बिल ऑफ एक्सचेंज में ड्रॉयर के ऑर्डर पर किसी फिक्टिशियस नाम में भर दिया and endorsed by the same name as the drawer's signature. What I am saying कि मैं दीपक गुप्ता, मैंने एक पार्टी एक्स को गुड्स बेचे और मुझे उससे बिल ऑफ एक्सचेंज चाहिए, तो आई एम द ड्रॉयर बिकॉज आई हैव द राइट टू रिसीव द पेमेंट. एक्स हैज टू साइन एंड एक्सेप्ट द लायबिलिटी, सो ही बिकम्स द ड्रॉयर. Up when I said to A, so Mr. X, that you have to pay me, is some way we decided that the instrument will be payable in the name of Mr. C. So I ordered that X to make the payment in favor of C, which was a third party, and he will be ordered to do so because I have given him the consideration. And when the instrument has been created in the name of the C, it comes back to me, or it goes to C because I said that I will pay it to C. And then later on it is found that C has endorsed it in the favor of another party D, or C has endorsed it in the favor of Deepak Gupta again. Now somehow, if the payer alleges that that party C was fictitious, it was no one, you yourself created for me, he created that, he said कि जो आप हैं ड्रॉयर, आप ही ने वो पार्टी का नाम क्रिएट किया है जबकि वो पार्टी फिक्टिशियस है, और आपने उसके फेक साइन करके उसी के नाम से साइन करके खुद ही एंडोर्स करा लिया. तो फर्स्ट ऑफ ऑल, अगर आप होल्डर इन ड्यू कोर्स हो, then the payer cannot deny his liability because even if that person was fictitious, because the person becomes the holder in due course. तो अगर holder in due course नहीं है, यानी कि सिंपल भाषा में अगर इंस्ट्रूमेंट को क्रिएट करने में, होल्डर बनने में सारी की सारी फॉर्मेलिटीज पूरी कर दी गई हैं जैसे हमने डिस्कस किया, then the payer is not given any excuse to back off from his payment liabilities, and hence becoming a holder in due course must be your first and foremost priority, so that you are assured of receiving the payment even if the payer alleges some discrimination or default. For example, in the case of third, that when you created the instrument, you said that this instrument will be payable or will be liable to be paid only for these purposes. मीन्स आपने कोई कंटिजेंसी डाल दिया, कोई स्पेशल पर्पस डाल दिया है कि पेमेंट सिर्फ इसी के लिए होगी, जबकि ये अलाउड नहीं है, बिकॉज वी हैव डिस्कस्ड अर्लियर दैट वेदर इट्स अ बिल ऑफ एक्सचेंज or whether it's a promissory note, the promise or the order has to be unconditional. If there is any condition, then it is not a valid negotiable instrument. तो यह कंडीशन की जगह कोई पर्पस डिफाइंड है, तो अगर कंडीशन लगी हुई है फिर तो इंस्ट्रूमेंट ही नहीं बना, बट यहाँ कंडीशन नहीं है, कोई स्पेशल पर्पस मेंशन था. So act says if the instrument lies with the holder in due course, then the payer has to pay. He cannot deny the payment, citing the reasons that the special purposes are not served. That is, holder in due course becomes another exclusive right to receive the payment. ठीक. Similarly, जो चौथी प्रिविलेज है कि अगर मैं होल्डर हूँ और मैं होल्डर इन ड्यू कोर्स हूँ, और जब मैं पेयर के पास पेमेंट लेने गया तो ही सेड कि जिसने आपको दिया है उससे ये चोरी हो गया था या खो गया था, That is why we will not pay the amount. So because I'm able to prove that I am a holder in due course, I can convince to the court कि भाई मैंने बोनाफाइड लिया है, कंसिडरेशन के साथ लिया है, ड्यू डेट से पहले लिया है, तो हाउ विल आई कम टू नो that the instrument was stolen or lost? So I should have the right of payment. So whatever is the loss will be of the earlier parties, not for me, because I am becoming a holder in due course. So if you see, for example, if you read it, the person liable in a non-negotiable instrument cannot set up against the holder in due course the defense. तो प्लीज नेगोशिएबल इंस्ट्रूमेंट्स एक्ट की लैंग्वेज बहुत प्योरीफाइड है, बहुत स्ट्रॉन्ग है. दैट इज वाई व्हेन वी स्पीक इन नॉर्मल लैंग्वेज इट लुक्स इजियर एज कंपेयर्ड टू, और आई शुड से इट लुक्स मच इजियर in comparison to when we use the specific language of the act. ठीक है. So if you see how the language created, the person liable in a negotiable instrument, सिंपल भाषा में ये चार लाइन किसके शो कर रही है? पेयर को. ही कैन नॉट सेट अप अगेंस्ट द होल्डर इन ड्यू कोर्स द डिफेंस, यानी कि अगर आप होल्डर इन ड्यू कोर्स हो तो आपके अगेंस्ट ये एक्सक्यूज, ये डिफेंस नहीं है कि भाई हमारा इंस्ट्रूमेंट तो खो गया था, या आपने इसको चोरी करा है, या आपके पास कंसिडरेशन का प्रूफ नहीं है. तो लॉ सेज ये सारी की सारी आपकी पेयर की अजम्पशंस या एक्विजिशंस यूजलेस हैं, बिकॉज द रिसीवर इज होल्डर इन ड्यू कोर्स. He has fulfilled all the prerequisites to receive the payment at all points because consideration is there, bona fide consideration is there. I'm repeating. Before due date, he has become the holder and he has good faith. So therefore, if we now deny the payment to holder in due course in any of the such cases, then it will destroy, kill the basic purpose of the Negotiable Instruments Act, and hence to avoid that negotiable instruments don't become useless, we have to honor the payment for holder in due course in all circumstances. That is, होल्डर इन ड्यू कोर्स जो है वो सबसे सही होल्डर है जिसने लगभग सारी कंडीशंस पूरी करी हुई हैं, और अगर उसे पेमेंट मिल रही है देन इट जस्टिफाइज द बेसिक असेंस ऑफ द नेगोशिएबल इंस्ट्रूमेंट्स एक्ट. हेंस we always say we all are holders, we have all become the holder, or we all may have become the holder for the consideration, but in addition to the consideration, if other two conditions are also fulfilled, good title and before the due date, then you more or less become default free, and it assures the payment to the holder in due course. And therefore, whenever in practical life there is a case or chance of dishonor of checks, so checks are a kind of negotiable instrument. They are a special kind of bill of exchange, and if there is any dishonor on behalf of non-payment or due to insufficient balance in the books of accounts in the bank, then we have to just prove in the court of law that you are the holder in due course. And if that is the case, then the payer who has defaulted is severally liable for the damages, and there can also be a chance of imprisonment. So defaults in case of dishonor to a holder in due course are severally and jointly liable for imprisonment and a fine. And that is why Negotiable Instruments Act is a very strong act, and all cases of dishonor under Section 138 are normally settled in the favor of every holder in due course. So on this note, I hope we are able to understand all our these concepts. That is, we have discussed what is holder, we have discussed what is holder of a value, we have discussed what is a holder in due course, we have underlined the difference between a holder and a holder in due course, and we have understood the privileges of becoming a holder in due course, which inspires us, motivates us to always receive or become the endorsee before the due date. So I hope this session was of use to you. It must have helped you in your exams. On this note, this is Deepak Gupta signing off on this platform of CollegeDekho.com. Thank you very much.